How did the Audible Schoolyard project get started, and what is the work that we do as an organization? It all began in 1995 when Alice Waters of Chez Panisse Restaurant, who is our founder, was being interviewed about her work with Chez Panisse. She was talking about the neighborhood and this school in particular that looked run down when she drove home on her way home from the restaurant at night. The principal that we had at the time, whose name is Neil Smith, called her and said, "Alice, I'd like to invite you to come and talk with me." And she did. Alice and Neil Smith walked through the grounds of King Middle School and identified two important places. One was a school parking lot that had been used for staff to park their cars. The other was a school cafeteria that had been closed and abandoned in 1971. Alice imagined that students could be a part of growing and cooking food in the academic day. That parking lot became our 1-acre garden, and that abandoned cafeteria became our first kitchen classroom. We started with students in the fall of 1996. We would have one class come out at a time, then we could take 3 classes. In 1997, we opened our first kitchen classroom. We decided early on that math and science students would come to the garden and that students working with their humanities teachers would come to the kitchen. It took us about 5 years to fully plant out the garden in the whole acre. In 2003, we had been operating the program for about 7 years, and we knew that it was time to tackle the walking taco. Students were eating the walking taco at lunch, but being taught during the school day that it was important to think about health when making decisions about food. This disconnect was something that we knew we had to tackle. So in 2003, the Audible Schoolyard project partnered with the Berkeley Unified School District and the Center for Eco-Literacy to launch the School Lunch Initiative. This initiative overhauled school lunch in Berkeley from a reheat and serve program to a program that prioritized local and organic procurement and from-scratch cooking. In 2005, we knew that we had settled into our pedagogy and our model of edible education, and that it was time to start tackling our replication strategy. What does it look like for an edible schoolyard to be a universal idea? What does it look like in every community to have an edible schoolyard? We looked for programs that had different sources of funding, that had different climates and geography, that had different cultures where an edible schoolyard would look and feel different than the edible schoolyard in Berkeley. And we wanted to show that it doesn't have to happen only at school. Some of our affiliates are charter schools, some of our affiliates are after-school programs, some of them are in children's museums and in sleepaway camps. So in 2009, we launched our first training program. It was called the Edible Schoolyard Academy. In that training, we had 30 people, and it was for 2 days. Over the last 7 years, we have grown that training to be for 5 days and for 100 people who come from all over the world to learn with us and alongside us. We still couldn't keep up with the demand. We launched the Audible Schoolyard Network in 2011 to be a place for practitioners in edible education to meet, to gather, to share. It's a Creative Commons open source platform for sharing best practices and lessons and resources and to connect people. It also maps the growth of edible education as a movement. There are over 5,500 programs represented on that network. As an organization, the Audible Schoolyard project is focused in 3 strategic areas. The first is, of course, Audible Schoolyard Berkeley, where we have the opportunity to innovate and to test and to ensure that the best ideas are being thought through and piloted before they're being shared. We also look at the networking and engagement of a movement. What does it look like to support the capacity and development of educators in this field? And then, of course, Alice and advocacy. Alice's vision for edible education is that every school in America has a hands-on school garden, school kitchen, and a free, organic, sustainable lunch for every student at school. The Edible Schoolyard Project is a 501c3 organization working in partnership with Berkeley Unified School District. We collaborate closely with the staff, teachers, and administration at the school to ensure that students are having opportunities in the school day during academic time to be in the school garden and kitchen environment.